Bene, allora buongiorno dottoressa Vandana Shiva. La prima domanda è sul titolo del suo libro, Avidità e cura. In due parole sembra riunire la storia di secoli e quindi la prima cosa che le chiediamo è come le ha scelte queste due parole.
Through history, care has not just been trivialized as if it doesn't exist. You know, women's economy of care, it's no, they don't produce, they don't work. The peasant economy, no, they don't grow fruit, you know, only the commodities are food. So I have, through my own life, seen the trivialization of the economy of care as if it doesn't exist, even though that is the economy on which everything else rests. You know, the money economy, the market economy would collapse if there was not care. If there weren't some people caring for the earth, if some people in society were not caring for family, community, during COVID, if we didn't have care workers, people wouldn't have survived. But when I started to go deeper into trying to understand how what we call economy today became the economy, you know, I'd done this exercise in 1980s when I was writing my first book, Staying Alive, which was also published in Italian. And that time I was trying to solve the puzzle in my mind. How did what is called science today get called science? And how did all the knowledge of the world disappear, yeah, as not scientific? But because we were not just living through COVID, we were living through this concentration of power, 1.3 trillion made by those who were doing nothing, and those who were working couldn't work anymore. So I went into the roots of economy and I read all the Anglo-Saxon nonsense that is taught. Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, father of modern economics. He's merely describing colonization, but not calling it colonization. He's merely describing enclosures of the common and creation of private property and naturalizing it. He is talking about competition as something we are born with in the womb, greed as what we come to the world. And then he naturalizes the most perverse non-qualities, negative qualities of humanity: competition, greed, conquest, machinery and industrialism that led to the fossil fuel age. And he's describing that as sophisticated, and everything that was being colonized as primitive, as backward. Well, that's what colonialism did. So I said, I've got it. The economy of greed is what colonialism was. Colonial commerce got renamed economy by Mr. Adam Smith at the peak of colonization. And all the real economies, the art of living, or, you know, oikonomia, according to Aristotle, is the art of living. The art of living was extinguished or criminalized. And so I said, if we don't connect the economy of care, which is what supports life, which we need desperately, more desperately during COVID and lockdown, and the economy of greed, which has brought all these crises, and named itself the economy, and we take the dignity of economy away from what Aristotle called the art of money making, chrematistics. I said we should start learning to name phenomena for what they are and not allow the appropriation of words. Another little footnote on the book. So I decided to take all the words that are used in economy today: investment, growth, development. I took all of these, innovation, and I went to the roots, the etymological roots. The fascinating thing is, and this is for you Italians, most of them have Latin roots. So, you know, you have done a lot of thinking for the world. There's a lot of thinking in India with Sanskrit, but most people, you know, the Western languages are not derived from Sanskrit. The Western languages are derived from Latin. But at the peak of colonialism, 1600, East India Company, every meaning of a Latin word was flipped to mean the opposite. So I have a dictionary in the book. And of course, with it, the extinguishing of not just the rights of all beings on the planet, you know, that's why St. Francis, so important, you know, talking to all the other beings, you know, sisters and brothers, but also human rights. Because if you just can declare some people as less human, you know, women who have another knowledge can be just declared witches and be burnt on the stakes. People like us with a brown and black skin and in other places and other lands can just be called primitive and barbarians and our lands taken away. So it's very convenient to rob us of our humanity and our earth citizenship. And my little book is an attempt for all of humanity everywhere to reclaim our humanity and our earth citizenship through the economy of care.
Lei scrive che la salute del pianeta e la nostra salute non sono separabili. E scrive anche che il potere dell'1% degli uomini ricchi è quello che comanda sostanzialmente, ma allora la domanda è: perché il 99% non è riuscito in tutti questi decenni a invertire la rotta?
First, that all new infectious diseases are coming from forests. And all forest diseases are coming from displacing animals in their habitat. What is a virus on an animal is part of their virome. It's part of their healthy being. Yeah, a healthy virus in a healthy animal in a healthy forest is not disease. You displace the animal to grow soya bean in the Amazon forest. You cut down the Congo. You cut down the Western Ghats forest. You cut down the rainforest of Amazon of Indonesia to grow palm oil, to create a commodity system where some of it goes to biofuel, some of it goes for animal feed, some leftovers go for processed food, and you know, the death of real food. So if 300 diseases are coming from the forest, and we don't know exactly from where the COVID came, because that's still an open question, but new diseases, new infectious diseases are coming from the forest based on an industrial system that doesn't know the limits. It doesn't know ecological limits. It doesn't know planetary limits. It doesn't know human rights. It doesn't realize that the right to food is a human right. It thinks the right to profit, no matter what, is the right. So a shift from the right to food and health to a right to make money. And then I started to look very quickly at the data, because there was always a second line. So many people dying of COVID. And the second line would say they had comorbidities of diabetes, of cancer. And I read the research, and 7.6% higher risks if you had cancer. You got an infection. The infection didn't kill you. The cancer made you more vulnerable. If you had diabetes, 9.2% higher risk. So my head is, you know, part of my mental training from childhood and quantum theory, etc., is to connect, is to look at the connections that are constantly either being wiped out or not being articulated. So I said, okay, so here we have an industrial greedy system. The same 1% is driving the destruction of the forest, creating infectious diseases, and the destruction of our body, creating cancer and diabetes. And that's what really killing people. It's a bad food system based on greed. So when you say, how is it that the 99% could not regulate the 1%? But we did. We did. We couldn't have had a labor movement if people hadn't fought. After the wars, the UN Declaration of Human Rights was prepared. That Human Rights Declaration has guided the world. And I have actually written a book, a little booklet, when the human rights in the UN Human Rights Declaration was being dismantled under the new globalization and the rules of trade. And I had spent a lot of time studying these rules because I was defending the seed. I was looking at GATT, WTO, etc. So I've done this little booklet. And if I can find a soft copy, I'll see if I can send it to you. One page is the human right. The other page is how the new trade rules, which I think Pascal Lamy, or one of the WTO Director General, said are the new constitution of the world. Yeah, not the national constitution with human rights, but a corporate written set of rules to make money. So one side I have human rights, the other side I have the the rules created by the 1% to make money at any cost, dismantling human rights, the human right to food, the human right to health, the human right to live, the human right to your land. You know, what are people facing around the world? Their rights to their land can be alienated because a bauxite mine says there's bauxite there. Bolivia, which played a role in the UN declaration, in the draft declaration on the rights of the earth. And I had played a role with the Bolivian government. And it's a brilliant, you know, this was supposed to be the companion. So you have the Human Declaration of Human Rights, and then this other draft was to be the Declaration of Earth Rights. And, you know, there's been UN meetings, UN General Assemblies. I've had the privilege of addressing this, but Evo Morales took the initiative after the failure of the Copenhagen meeting. You know, he said, we were here to discuss and negotiate the rights of Mother Earth, not the rights of polluters. So human rights then were trampled. So the rights that had been created, you know, the wars led us, no, even before that, industrialism led to creation of movements. Yeah? People were exploiting in mines. People were being exploited in the factories. People got together and organized as a workers' movement. Women got together and organized as a women's movement. Europe was the perfection of welfare economies. People produce, the taxes are then distributed in society. I've been in hospital in Italy, and when I brought out my wallet to say how much, they said, we don't take money. Yeah. So to the universal right to healthcare, I've experienced it myself. I've also experienced in America, I picked up an infection on the flight. And this infection was climbing. And, you know, they told me Norman Bethune died of it. I was rushed to the hospital. We are waiting in the emergency room while I could be dying. And they're insisting I have to show insurance. Insurance has to be shown by my contacting my people in India who are sleeping at that time. And they somehow manage to dig up my insurance papers and fax them to the San Francisco hospital. And meantime, the nurse is coming and putting a mark on my leg. You know, every few hours, the infection is climbing 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and the mark is climbing all the way. And I'm looking at it, so my God, I said, how long before they knock me off? I've seen the universal right to healthcare in a Western European country, in Italy. I have seen in the richest country of the world, the denial of healthcare, and I've experienced both. And I know, I once had a driver in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. And I could make out this lady had been very, very rich. And we started to talk. And she was a millionairess. Her husband had a very big business, but he got cancer. And his treatment took it beyond their insurance. They sold their business. They sold their house. They sold everything. The husband was not saved. She had to come back to her little home and earn a living as a taxi driver. A millionaire is reduced to a pauper. So the issue of health is an example of how we fought for rights, and globalization, which we call the rule of the corporations, dismantled that. And so it's not that the 99% didn't fight. The 99% will have to get organized to fight again. And I can tell you what's happening now is just like the British wanting to control us and created the Hindu-Muslim fight, which is still troubling India. I watch in the West how a new divide and rule policy is being created, because we are now living through what? The same billionaires control the media. The same billionaires control big pharma. The same billionaires control the definition of technology. The same billionaires decide who will become a president or a prime minister by financing election. The same billionaires are therefore running democracy, media, communication. And the one thing they don't care about is people's rights and human rights. Because the rule of the 1%, my book is also published that 1% versus, oneness versus 1%. It's published by Feltrinelli. And it was in a way a prior book written when I watched Bill Gates emerge as an emperor. So it's not that the 9% did not resist. and 99% you don't, and the 99% will have to find ways to overcome divide and rule that is being very craftily institutionalized, create new solidarities across spheres, food, health, workers, women, all have to become one. The right of the earth to be alive, the right to people to be healthy has to become the unifying call for earth rights and human rights in our time.
Un'ultima domanda, grazie Vandana Shiva, riguarda le sue conclusioni quando lei parla di semi. Allora, il concetto di seme a noi piace molto, sia a QCODMEG sia al Festival dei diritti umani. Ne abbiamo usato questa parola l'anno scorso, tra l'altro, per ricordare i 20 anni da Genova G8, per cui è una parola che torna anche quest'anno e siamo contenti col suo libro, e quindi capire come si fa a farli crescere questi semi.
So the first thing you have to do for cultivating seed is to save it. If there's no seed, how will you sow it? So to save the seed, you have to care. Yeah, you can just go buy a GMO seed in the market, but to save seeds, you have to care. And seed, both the material, biological seed, as well as the cultural seed, is simultaneously a remembering and a sowing of potential. The seed has in it centuries of evolution. Remembering Genoa, remembering Seattle, remembering fascism of various kinds, remembering struggles against fascism, all of that is in the seed. But in the remembering, we remember our potential. Now, just like the seed in its remembering is able to grow a plant, in its remembering and its interaction, we then can start saying, we will not forget. There's a very powerful saying by Milan Kundera, the power of people, the struggle of people against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. We are being asked to forget everything. We are being asked to forget that our bodies have immunity. We are being asked to forget that if our gut microbiome is healthy, we will have immunity for every disease. During COVID, they actually denied natural immunity in the WHO website. So they're denying life. But life's denial has been the basis of colonialism, industrialism, and this money-making economy. It will crush life in order to make money. And in the sowing of seed, we reclaim life. And the beauty of the seed is the seed grows on its own. GMO seeds have external inputs. GMO seeds have patents, but all that baggage is a greed baggage, and it's a toxic baggage. Greed, poisons, inequality go together. Seeds of love, seeds of sharing, sow the seeds of the economy of care. They sow the seeds of a poison-free world, including poison-free in our minds, that we are not brainwashed. And most of all, they allow us to reclaim our capacity to share in the commons and live as humanity in common. For me, the ultimate human right is to know we are part of the earth. The ultimate human right is we are one humanity on one planet. That is what we have to sow the seeds of.